Good morning. My name is Jasdeep and I am conducting your IELTS speaking today. So, what's your full name?
My full name is Harmanjot Singh, but you can call me Harman.
Can I see your ID?
Of course, here is the passport that I used to register for this test.
Where are you from?
I'm from Gurdaspur, but I'm currently living in Batala.
Do you work or study?
I'm a student. I've recently passed my 12th grade.
Now, I will ask you some general questions on the general topics. So, let's talk about puzzles. Did you do puzzles in your childhood?
Yes, I do remember when I was a child, I used to love doing puzzles.
When do you do puzzles? During your trip or when you feel bored?
I believe whenever I'm bored and I want to train my mind, that's when I do puzzles, and I really like to do puzzles because they make me think in a creative way.
Do you like doing word puzzles or number puzzles?
I did like word puzzles more. I do remember that number puzzles did really interrupt me a lot, and I couldn't think a lot in that moment.
Do you think it is good for old people to do puzzles?
Yes, it's a good option for older people when they are bored, and I think it helps them think a lot as well.
Let's talk about public transportation. What kind of public transportation do you usually take?
Well, usually I travel by bus. I prefer that means of transport because I think it's cheap and it helps me travel a lot as well.
When do you usually take public transportation in your everyday life and when you are traveling?
Most of the times when I'm traveling, I travel by bus. That's when, other than that, whenever I need to go to work, I have private transportation, and that's what I use.
Do most people prefer public transportation in your country?
Yes, most of the people in my country are working jobs every single day, so they use public transport to get to their job workplace.
Did you take public transportation when you were a kid?
No, not really. I remember I had one or two journeys when I used a bus, but other than that, I didn't use any bus or any other means of transport.
Will there be more people taking public transportation in the future?
Well, I do believe that nowadays people like to travel alone. Other than that, they do prefer private transport, and that's because private transport is more accessible nowadays. A lot of new cars are displayed in the market, and they are available at cheap rates. So people are buying more of these vehicles, and they travel by private transport more.
Okay, now I will give you one CUA topic, and for that you have 1 minute for preparing about that topic and 2 minutes for speaking about that topic. And your topic is describe a historical period you would like to know more about. You can use paper and pencil for preparing notes. Please start.
A historical period that I would like to know more about. Well, that dates back to the 1400s AD. It was the Delhi Sultanate. This is a historical part of the Indian history that I really admire, and I believe that this was a revolutionary period for the Indian culture and heritage. So basically, I knew more about Mahmud of Ghazni. He was the emperor of Saudi Arabia, and he came towards India to loot it for its riches. And I remember learning more about the Somnath temple that he robbed, and he robbed about millions of gold and wealth from there. And after that, the slave dynasty came into power. So these were basically slaves that became the rulers of the empires. And after that, every single dynasty ending up with the Tughlaq dynasty. That's what I came to know more about. And what I loved about this period was that it was great for the Indian heritage. A lot of new cultures were introduced, and different Vedas came into power, and people started knowing more about them. A lot of new religions came about. People tried to convert to Buddhism in this period as well. And this was what I was really fascinated by. But the thing that I would like to learn more about it would be how they carried out the different transportation, and how business flourished in this part of the years. This is what I would really like to know more about, as I have great interest in that. I believe that visiting a few museums, and along with that, getting in contact with some archaeologists would really help me out know more about this period.
So, do you enjoy learning more about history?
Yes, history was in fact my favorite subject when I was young, and I love every part of it. I love knowing more about where we came from and where we will go in the future.
Okay, can I get pencil and paper back? Thank you. Now, I will ask you some general questions on the basis of your CUA topic. So, do you think it is important to know about history?
Yes, definitely. History is really important to be known about, as I believe that when you know about history, you know where you came from and how the developments undergo and how different inventions were made. This really helps you gain information about the past.
How can children learn about history?
Well, I believe that most of the children gain knowledge about history from their schools. I believe history is considered an important subject at school, and teachers are really focused towards teaching children about the subject as well.
What is the difference between learning about history from books and from videos?
Well, I do think that videos do display a pictorial source of information, and along with that, when you're learning about history, you basically need to visualize things. That's where I believe that videos come to power, as various archaeologists took pictures and these can be displayed in videos. This helps children learn a lot.
Do you think it is difficult to protect and preserve historical buildings?
Yes, definitely. As the times pass by, I believe that historical monuments and buildings deteriorate, and it's really detrimental, as these are buildings that really give us information about the past and are an emblem of success towards life as we progress further. So yeah, it is very difficult nowadays to preserve these precious monuments.
Who should be responsible for protecting historic buildings?
Well, definitely, to some extent, the government should have its main focus towards the preservation. But I do believe that if people don't really cater to this need, I believe that the government can hardly do any success in this.
How do you think famous historical figures can serve as models for young people today?
Well, these monuments are something that really show us where we came from. So definitely, they are a great source of motivation, and they help motivate people to understand how we were different from the past, and how we have revolutionized everything, and how things change in the gradual passing of days.
Do people in your country like to visit museums?
Yes, museums are the places that Indians visit a lot. In a recent survey, it was found that most of the trips that were made by Indians in the past years were basically towards museum and towards gaining more information. This is definitely evident. This definitely is evident that people nowadays are very aware of the past, and they want to gain more information about that.
Who do you think likes to go to museum more, children or adults?
Well, it really depends. As I was a child who was really interested in history, so I wanted to go to museums. Other than that, archaeologists and older people who have really developed a great habit of learning more about history, are the ones that visit museums. So it basically depends on a person's interests.
Do you think museums should be free of cost to enter?
Yes, definitely. I have had a few friends who were interested in history and they wanted to visit a few museums, but when they found out that there was some fees to enter them, they refused to go in. And this is something that I think is very bad because when people have interest and when they are stopped by simple, a small sum of money to gain more information, that is very bad, and this really deters people from going and gaining information.
How do you think the museums of the future might be different from the museums of today?
Well, I believe that since technology is developing, in the future, whenever there are some artifacts and some information that is gained by the archaeologists, they would be able to display them directly from the place they were found at. For example, in the future, if AI is possible, these artifacts can be presented directly in a photographic way and can be represented at the museums for the people to see.
How do you think the museums of the future might portray the 21st century?
Well, this is a period that has had a great amount of changes. So the museums would definitely be very different from the past. And I believe that even though there have been some difficult times, but I believe that 21st century would be something that the further generations would really cherish.
Here is the end of your IELTS speaking module. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.